Welcome to our Saturday simulcast, May 31st edition. Hard to believe we're at the end of May. And actually, this is the June 1st edition because we're recording a day early, but we're at the start of June, better said. And of course, our guest, Dave Neff, CEO of the Boilermaker Alliance. He's been a guest on the show in the past. Nothing's going on in the world of athletic compensation these days. But Dave, thank you for spending the time, especially with a lot of the news here 8 days ago or so with the House decision. There's still going to be room for collectives, and the Boilermaker Alliance has got a lot of work to do. But give us just your thumbnail, kind of your reaction to that initially, and the wonderful world of what you're involved with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back, Alan. The Final Four feels like, years ago at this point, with this House versus the NCAA settlement. I think like a lot of probably your readers and viewers, I've been reading what's out there and talking to peers sort of in my space at other collectives. And, I think there's still a lot that, on behalf of the collective that needs to get ironed out, right? There was the House versus NCAA settlement last Thursday.
Right.
And, essentially that settles three of those, antitrust, House versus NCAA, Hubbard versus NCAA, Carter versus NCAA. But this thing still has to go back to a federal judge in California, and she has to approve the settlement. And so there's just a lot of details and that could take what I'm reading up to 6 months, right? So, revenue sharing at its earliest is projected to be fall of 25. Again, that's if everything goes according to plan. So this thing is still, over a year out. And so as it relates to, our job at the collective, in the near term, we still have, a big job to do. We have got to continue to raise to stay competitive for the upcoming, football, men's basketball season, other sports, women's basketball, women's volleyball. We've got obligations, certainly through at least the spring of 25. And so it really doesn't change a lot for us in the day to day. And, if I were to sort of read the tea leaves, I don't know what collectives look like in 15 months. I think they'll evolve. Does that mean their influence will grow or diminish? Not sure. But, I want to make it very clear that there is still a big need for Purdue alums, Purdue fans, especially those that enjoyed the run we just went on with men's basketball. We still need their support, whether that's as a monthly member or potentially something larger, in order to continue to just be competitive. This thing isn't going away tomorrow just because of this settlement.
And you probably have fielded questions from folks on this deal, and you made it pretty clear about what your needs are. But managing in the world of change, even in this gig for you, which is different than your other works in sports and other professional activities that you did before this job, but that has to have been you have to keep your head on a swivel, I think.
Yeah.
That's
I think I've said it on this before. We've got to focus on what we can control. And, we're not resting on our laurels because, this revenue sharing's coming down the pike. For those that have really dug in on the details, I think some of the details of the settlement is, there's this 22% of sort of, what is it? Three things: ticket sales, sponsorship, and multimedia rights, which at a Power Four school like a Purdue could end up being, $20 million a year in revenue sharing. Again, could, and there's, a formula out there that'll apply to schools. But, as it relates to our work, again, at the earliest, that wouldn't take effect till fall of 25. And there's a lot of steps that need to happen during that time. So we are still hyper focused on finding creative ways to drive revenue, like this Alliance Bourbon, which we can talk about here in a bit, and sort of our larger capital campaigns, as well as getting more exposure to what it means to be a member and getting access to some of the exclusive content that we've partnered with your team on.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of that is trying to create reasons outside of the obvious of why folks, need to be part of this. It is a necessary. Ryan Walters has talked about, not in specifics, but just the importance of having access to funds to be able to, he has 27 new players this year, and that's a huge factor. Especially, do you find it more in sports like football? I mean, the transient nature of the portal and all those things, does that become a bigger challenge, or does that is that kind of continuing to incrementally evolve?
Well, I think when you look at football and the fact that they have 85 scholarships compared to, let's just use men's basketball, 13 scholarships, just by its very nature, it's going to be much more transactional, right? With guys coming in, transferring. Probably not fair to compare the two programs when you've got a coach like Matt Painter, who's been here almost 2 decades. Ryan Walters still getting this thing going as he goes into year two, and I really believe we'll see a lot of success in due time. But yeah, football, I don't care if it's a team at the bottom of the Big Ten or the top of the Big Ten. You're probably, I know you're dealing with the portal, right? You're having to get guys out of it. Guys are jumping into it, and we were fortunate, right, in the sense that we didn't have, outside of Mason Gillis and Ethan Morton, which we expected.
Right.
They're taking sort of their COVID year to go play elsewhere. We didn't have a scholarship for them coming back, but beyond that, we didn't have anybody on men's basketball hit the portal, which is a pretty unique spot to be, as a Power Five school for men's basketball.
Yeah, you look at that and you look at the stability of Matt Painter and what he has brought to this program. I think the last time I saw you face to face was in the hallways of in Phoenix, and still that glow of that. It seems like years ago, but then again, it doesn't. I think last night I happened to turn on what I call the voice of God, the Conzo Martin little vignette about what this all meant. I think was aired the day before the national championship. But just talk about that and that momentum and what that has meant in your world in terms of talking to people. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it means a lot, but
I think that run, Alan, will pay dividends for Purdue athletics for years to come, not just this summer or the rest of this year. It'd been 44 years since making the Final Four, 55, I believe, since national championship, and it was just the feedback I've gotten in talking to folks since that weekend in early April was just, this was one of their fondest Purdue experiences. I mean, these are folks that have been, following the program for over 50 years, and just that weekend of any was one of their best memories. And so, in our world, the collective, obviously a way for us to capitalize. Well, hey, you like that feeling? Here's how you can contribute to make sure we're back competing at Final Fours, every year. And I really believe, as I think I've shared in the past, that people that support Purdue, they're not just supporting one sport, they support, all Purdue athletics. So I think that run will lift, women's basketball, women's volleyball, football, and our other sports as a whole, which is great for everybody.
now you've been around in this gig for enough time to start to really get a feel for what that Purdue supporter acts and looks like.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, I mean, is there a way to best describe it? I mean, obviously you have a Final Four run and there's a lot of interest, but tell me what your observations are, what that support group looks like, a group of supporters, I should say, and how that's come together as you've witnessed it firsthand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Purdue alum, Purdue fans, they're some of the nicest, most educated, humble. They really do their homework. Even as it relates to our work, they probably need to hear our message 4, 5, 6 times before they're going to part, with some of their hard-earned money to want to support what we're about. And, that's why it's been so critical to have the alignment and collaboration with JPC, John Purdue Club. We're working, hand in glove on a lot of these things. They've been incredibly helpful and instrumental. And as I've, ramped up these first 6 months, and, we're one team, we're one jersey, even though I am, the collective is outside the university currently. We are the exclusive collective, and we'll continue to work closely together.
Yeah. Talk about and you mentioned this before, but kind of remind people about some of the activities. Yes, these you bring in funds, but
yeah,
there are a lot of things that the student athletes are doing as important things in the community, and what that initiative and how that continues to evolve here not only over the summer, but heading into your second full year with this program.
Yeah, I mean, every month we have student athletes that are out in the community. This Saturday, I believe we've got this Franciscan 5K going on, and we'll have some of the football student athletes out there. A few of them will be at the Boys and Girls Club in Lafayette next week, and so we're always trying to stay ahead of it. We've got the Tyler Trent Foundation golf outing here on June 10th, which some of them will be at as well. And so, our team is actively kind of staying ahead of the eight ball and ensuring that we've got, great charitable work lined up for them to do. And that's, that's a big part of this, this NIL deal, and will continue to be.
You're on the front lines of this and a little bit younger than I am, but have been around sports for a long time. What makes you optimistic that throughout this, I mean, if you go back and we've talked this, we're blue in the face, COVID, transfer portal, conference realignment, NIL, what makes you confident that this is going to still look like it, at least from a fan perspective and a team perspective, that college athletics is going to survive all this and move things forward?
Yeah, well, there's no question that last week's settlement was a landmark, I think, moment for college athletics. But to see that amount of progress, when I took this role, I was sort of under the impression that, hey, nothing may happen in 2024, just with it being an election year and everything going on. But here we are in May, and there's been a settlement. Now, again, a lot of roads still ahead, and so I think at the end of the day, you can read a lot of hyperbole and exaggeration out there about how decisions are being made. But, when we have somebody like at Purdue, Mike Babinski at the table with other, smart, even-keeled, level-headed ADs and college presidents, the Big Ten, the SEC, some of these groups working together, I just feel like, these brighter minds will prevail at the end of the day, and it's going to look different. And I get that some people don't love that and they want the old days, but the old days, I think that ship has sailed. And so we've just got to continue to adapt and, just sort of adjust to this next normal, as I would call it.
Even keeled. I think that may be Mike's middle name, or it needs to be. I don't know if he's that way. Don't know if he's that way when the doors are shut, but he certainly does a good job, and you do as well. Of all right, all is well. We got to move forward, and that I think is a clear and important attribute of all this. Okay, staffing. One of the things as you look at other collectives around the Big Ten, but also just what you're trying to get done. You brought a couple new folks in at Emily Cox and Madison Allgood too. Talk about their roles and the importance of getting, there's been a lot of writing about on a national level, a D1 ticker, et cetera, about, well, a lot of the focus is going to be on corporate help, those kinds of things. Talk about what your staff is doing, and you never have enough, but you hope that you can continue to move that ball forward. And what are you focusing on? I know you're focusing on raising money, but specifically, what will that group be doing?
Well, yeah. So Emily Cox just joined us. By the way, she was a 4-year Purdue softball player, so she's part of the Purdue family and was a Lafayette Jeff Bronco. She's on week 3 of the job, and for those of your viewers who may have heard or got to know Maddie Dodaro, Maddie's moving back to Dallas, where she's from. So Emily's really taking over her role as our marketing and engagement manager. So she's really on point, working with our student athletes on these monthly charitable appearances, also helping to kind of oversee some of our own marketing efforts as we try to, whether it's email, social, web, try to grow our presence in that way. And then Madison Allgood, he is also in his 3rd week, and he's a net new headcount for us. His title is Director of Strategic Growth. And, I really was advocating for this because as we approach potentially being an 8-figure type collective, you got to have talent to sort of organize this, right? You got to make investment in headcount so that we can kind of grow the bigger number. I think anyone from business can attest, right? You've got to invest in a team to sort of grow revenue. And so, I was grateful to my board and working with Purdue Athletics to kind of get that new headcount. As I've talked to peers, I think 6 or 7 full-time employees is probably the norm at a collective in the Big Ten. We're now at 3, which is good progress, and we're trying to be scrappy and lean and make do with what we've got. But I think these 2 individuals will really enable us to hopefully raise the bar, and we can do more in terms of potentially events for our members, which is a thing I know people have asked for, and we just quite frankly haven't had the resourcing to do what we want to do on that front, as well as to kind of pursue some innovative, revenue streams like the Campus Inc. partnership we've had, the Home Field partnership, this partnership we just launched with West Fork Whiskey on the Alliance Bourbon, where we created this unique Final Four collector's item kind of bourbon, really cool label with some Easter egg nods to Phoenix. We're going to have 10,000 bottles made. We received 25% of net proceeds into the collective. I think first week or two, we sold 750 bottles, right? So that's just an example of some of the ways that we're going to continue to get creative here.
Yeah, Tom Dienhart wrote about that a little bit back. We will put a link also on the bottom of our story as well, because that sounds kind of good. And,
yeah. I say, hey, Father's Day is around the corner, and
yeah.
It's a good gift. So some people, they'll probably buy a bottle and consume it, and then some will buy a second bottle and keep it as a collector's item.
Yeah, no doubt. A magical time for Purdue fans. All right, you look at when you pull up to your staff meeting and you bring Emily and Madison in there, and again you say, this is our biggest challenge. What is your biggest challenge? If you can limit it to just one, that's a hard question maybe, because there are many, but to talk about that, what is that focus? Is it as simple as raising money, getting you through another year? How do you put that into?
I think we just got to continue to find ways to raise our own brand awareness and exposure. You guys have been a phenomenal partner. But, I want to see, I keep saying this, we need to see membership grow exponentially. I think for us to kind of create this sticky recurring revenue stream, and with 600,000 living alum, I'd love to see us at 1%. 6,000 is a lot from, roughly 400 where we're at today. But, that to me, and how do we kind of partner with, now that there seems to be a little bit of loosening and getting, maybe some promotion through partnering with athletics or Purdue for Life or groups like that, that is really a critical area for us. And how do we grow more of that membership base? We can chase the big, donor dollars, and some folks have been generous and supported us 2-3 times. Some have done a one-time gift, but, we're sensitive to donor fatigue. I mean, these are folks that are often giving to JPC, as well as potentially, the Daniels School or the pharmacy school, or, chemical engineering. And so I think that membership, we got to crack that nut. So
yeah, that'll continue to be a process, I'm sure. All right. Working with coaches, and obviously not only Ryan Walters, but Noah Joseph. Football is not everything, but it's a lot of this, obviously, because you deal just with sheer numbers. Just talk about your date, not your interaction with them, and working. Noah's, as I know Noah not that well, but I know that they're strategic also. They know they need certain things to be able to get the talent in here that they need to be successful. But just talk about those interactions that you and your staff have with them, and as you try to move that needle.
Yeah, we really just try to be as supportive and collaborative and accessible and responsive as possible, right? I mean, we just wrapped up a month ago now the spring portal, which we acquired some talent out of that. And so I think Ryan, from when he got here to where football is today, we've probably grown the resourcing by a factor of 5 or 6. And so it's still not where we want it to be, right? We'd love to have more, but I think Purdue fans, when they see this team hit the field late August, will be really thrilled just with the size and the skill level and the talent that we've been able to hopefully help assist. And it's not always about raising the most amount of money. It's how strategic you are with the capital that you end up deploying, right? And I think as we get more data, sort of the Moneyball side of collectives, as this industry continues to grow, it'll be interesting to see which schools do that really well, and which ones might just raise a ton, but it's not an efficient use of capital.
No, there's a lot to that process of finding that right person and making it match with what you need to get done. They're already announcing start times for football here in the last week or two. We know what the season opener now at noon, and homecoming will be at noon for Purdue, and some other games, obviously, that have already been announced. But Dave, I'm going to give you the floor. Of anything else, any other initiatives that you want to make sure or any other things we want to focus on here as we wrap this Saturday simulcast up?
Yeah, I would just say to those that view this or kind of view your website, know that we're not slowing down at Boilermaker Alliance. We've got to continue to just broaden our base of support, even as things continue to evolve going into 2025 here in 6-7 months. And so, those that are already members, thank you. Please stick with us, continue your support. We're working on some things, hopefully later this summer and into the fall around football season, and maybe a fan jam deal with men's basketball in the fall that hopefully we can invite our members out to.
All right, Dave, thanks so much. This is a man that has 4 children between ages 2 and 8. You guys are busy doing a lot of things and putting a lot of time and effort into this. Appreciate all your efforts, and we appreciate your time, taking the time out for us. We'll look forward to doing more down the road. So thanks so much, Dave. Have a great rest of your weekend. And we want to thank also the Union Club Hotel, and Dave knows that place well. They've been great supporters of us as well, Vicky Wicks and company. We appreciate them as sponsors of our Saturday simulcast. We'll be back next week. I think Brian Newbert will be talking some basketball recruiting in addition to getting us caught up in football for our next Saturday simulcast. But Dave, thanks again. And everybody else, have a great week, and we'll see you. Don't forget, too, you can become a member of the Boilermaker Alliance. We'll just put a link on how to do that, which includes a goldenblack.com membership. And that's a great way to support not only the Alliance, but hopefully you'll enjoy our content. We're not just a Zoom video company, though some people think we are. We like to write stories and tell the story of Purdue sports. So I encourage you to think about that as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again, and we'll talk next week on Saturday Simulcast.
Thanks, Alan.